This camera has been absolutely amazing and it has so many benefits that I'm gonna talk to you guys about, but it also has a few negatives that are just making me feel like maybe there's something else that's out there for me. Before I get this video started though, I do ask that you please press that like button down below, leave a comment of what your favorite camera is and what's your go-to, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, let's get on with this review. And the first pro about this camera is that it's medium format. With this camera being medium format, some of the positives is that you're going to get amazing quality pictures. Everyone knows that, you have your 35mm, you have your large format, and you have your medium format, with medium format being usually the most popular high quality one. This camera does an amazing job at capturing some amazing detail in your photos. Photos are extremely sharp and are extremely clean, and they do really just about everything that you need. I love the quality that comes out of this camera, and honestly, if quality was the issue, then I would not be selling this camera at all, because it definitely does perform and it lives up to the expectations that I had for it when it came to quality. Another pro about this camera is that it's extremely compact. It can fit into your purse. It can fit into your pocket. It can fit into your bag. Literally, it's that amazing medium format camera that you can pick up and take with you everywhere. And the best thing is that it doesn't cost the price of a Mamiya 6 or Mamiya 7. You can literally have this camera on you at all times and not really have to sacrifice the quality that you want from your images, which is really one of the main reasons why I thought it would be the perfect camera for me. I love shooting in medium format, but I don't want to carry around those big bulky Mamiyas all the time. So I thought that buying this camera without having to pay that $2,000 price of a Mamiya 7, it would pretty much satisfy what I needed. I would have that camera that I can take with me everywhere, and I would be able to take amazing shots. And it did exactly just that. I literally would go out and hang with friends and be able to capture some of the best photos that I think that I've ever even taken. And so it really is a huge benefit that this camera is easy to carry, and it doesn't feel like it's adding on too much when you need to go somewhere. Another thing that might sound a bit silly, but I personally found as a pro, is how well the flash on this camera performs. Now, it's not something that you'd probably think about. You probably wouldn't think of a flash being such a huge and important thing, but usually sometimes when a camera is your grab and go, you are going to be involved in situations where you're taking this camera out at night, or even at a weird lighting situation. And so the flash of this camera performs extremely well, and it can do to where you get really nice shots in the flash that you're going for, or it can kind of create some sort of like effect of something that you really wasn't even expecting. And so the flash performance on this camera is extremely top tier, and it's something that I feel like a lot of cameras should take the formula for, because their flashes suck. And so if flash and nighttime photography is your thing, you like the medium format, you like the compact, then maybe you should consider one of these, because it definitely lives up to its expectations with all of those. Now, at the beginning of the video, I did mention that I am trying to sell this camera. And so now I'm going to talk about some of the cons and some of the reasons why I think I want to sell this camera. The first reason being is that this camera has a 60mm fixed lens. And now I know what I was getting myself into when I wanted to buy a point and shoot. Most point and shoots are literally point and shoot. And so, I didn't really think that the fixed lens would be something that bothered me, but maybe it's because I already have a pretty good 35mm point and shoot camera that I feel like this camera would do so much better for me if the lens weren't fixed. Sometimes I feel like I want to take advantage of the quality by taking amazing landscape shots or amazing portraits, but I don't feel like I can get the best of both worlds with this camera. Although I have tried and I have done a little bit of each, I still think that this camera just kind of lacks a little bit. And so the fixed lens is a little bit of an issue for me that I didn't think would be, but it is kind of starting to bother me and it's starting to be played out. I brought this camera with me to a concert and I tried to take a few pictures there, but not being able to zoom in and not having the best seats kind of sucked. And so if I had the ability to maybe change lens, it would have done me a lot better. The next thing with this camera is that you miss focus a lot. And now the thing with this camera is that the way that it's set, it's essentially when you are looking at landscape, it's in portrait. And when you flip the camera in portrait, it's in landscape. And that's not really what bothers me, but it's kind of like within the frame lines, you look at your subject, you think that you have the photo that you want, and sometimes it'll focus on something that you weren't intending to focus on. And the other time it will focus on nothing. And pardon me if I don't have the correct terms, but the viewfinder in this camera is actually looking directly at your subject, and it's not a viewfinder that's looking at what your lens sees. So it's giving you what you think you're going to be taking a picture of and not exactly what your lens is looking at, which I believe is the reason why some of my shots go out of focus, because I'm not able to see exactly what the lens is focusing on. Just something to keep in mind if this is something that you're considering buying, especially when you're shooting medium format. A camera like this, you get 16 shots, and so those 16 shots are very valuable and pretty expensive, and so it's key to have as many great shots as you possibly can. And when you have to think about the possibility of missing focus without knowing, it kind of sucks and you don't necessarily have anything that you can do about it. Well, another thing that I didn't know would really bother me, but it's actually driving me insane, is the fact that this camera's aperture only goes down to f4. And I mentioned that it is a fixed lens, so there's nothing that you can do about it. And so sometimes it'll be that perfect golden hour where I'd want to go down to 2.8 and be completely wide open, but I don't have that ability. And so now I'm forced to use flash when it's literally the most perfect lighting outside. I don't know. A lot of my pictures have been coming out a lot more dark and dim than I'd prefer them to be, and it's just something that's a little bit annoying to me. So if this is something that you don't mind, which I thought I didn't but I actually do, then this would probably be a good camera for you. But for me, sometimes I like to shoot completely wide open, and wide open I need at least 2.8. And so the fact that it can't do that for me is something that I probably should have considered a lot more before spending the big bucks on this camera. The final con that I'm gonna give for this camera that I feel like is a deal breaker is the sound. It is extremely loud, and so let me show you what it sounds like. And so as you can see from the video that I showed you, this camera is pretty loud, and I did watch a bunch of reviews where people talked about the sound and they tried to play it, but I didn't hear how loud it was until I actually got it. And now I'm not the biggest street photographer, so it doesn't really drive me insane like it would somebody who's trying to take candid photos of people on the street, but this absolutely blew my mind. So if street photography is what you're thinking of buying this camera for, you may want to reconsider, because it may not be the best decision for you. I do want to say that I have enjoyed the time that I've had with this camera. I haven't actually sold it yet. It's something that I'm planning to do. All in all, I didn't think that me and this camera would be parting ways this soon, but I think it is a decision that I think is right for me, and I am looking into other cameras, and I am excited for what my next purchase is going to be. I do have a few ideas in mind that I probably will be sharing once I actually have the camera in hand, but the Fuji GA645 is an amazing camera, but be sure to actually do your research before buying it. I don't think that it was a bad purchase for me, but sometimes with film cameras, it takes a little bit of playing around with it to understand, is it the camera for you, and is it going to fulfill the needs that you may necessarily have? With that being said, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you can, please give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, let me know what you think about this camera, if you've ever used it, or if you're thinking about buying it, or just maybe let me know what are some of your favorite cameras and your quick go-to cameras nowadays. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Feel free to leave any opinions, and until the next one, peace.
Up all night just dreaming. Up all night, just drifting in my thoughts again. I'm in my thoughts.